previously on Alaskan. The stampeders of the Great Klondike Gold Rush have traversed the difficult Chilkoot and White Pass trails leading to Lake Lindeman and Lake Bennett. For some, the journey proved to be too difficult and forced them to turn back. As for the others, the golden carrot that dangled in front of them continued to light their path to the rich gold fields of the Klondike.
They were on a mass stampede. They just had to get to the gold.
At the Cripple River mining camp outside Nome, Alaska, the opening crew have spent weeks living in primitive conditions, repairing damage caused by Alaska's harsh winter weather.
Let the adventures begin, huh?
An exhausted crew is running on fumes to push through the next week before the first wave of participants arrive. As the weeks progress leading up to the start of the Alaska Gold Expedition, crew members arrive almost daily. Amongst the new arrivals is the camp chef, Chip Yorty. Her arrival has been anticipated for weeks.
We're having a lot of new dishes this year because, you know, people get sick of eating the same thing over. We're having fresh spinach. Oh, I know everybody likes fresh spinach, right? We're having a lot of new dishes, taco salads and so forth. And we got 3 new girls for the kitchen, which I'm really excited about because we need help in the kitchen.
Another key arrival is self-proclaimed camp busybody, Al Marconi.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have a public foreclosure sale on this view.
They used to call me the camp busybody because I always seem to know everybody's business.
We're going down. 50 cents. 50 cents.
Quarter.
I got up here a little bit later this year. I wasn't on the opening crew, but they have that one thing that I kind of like them against. That's called snow. I get off the airplane and I stick my head out and see if it's if I don't see any white stuff, I get off the airplane. If not, I go back to Anchorage for a couple of days.
Sold for nothing.
Oh my gosh.
Friday night I will be modeling these, so you're all in trouble.
I think they'll fit.
It isn't long after Chip unpacks her bags that she's preparing the first home-cooked meal that the exhausted crew has seen in weeks.
Oh yeah, I enjoy cooking. I love to make roast beef. I mean, that I like. I like barbecued ribs. As far as desserts, I like to make the cobblers, the cheesecakes. I like to put a lot of fresh fruit and vegetables out for everybody because that's the secret of staying healthy, which is good.
While the daunting task of building a road that connects the outer camps was staring the crew in the face, recharging their batteries with Chip's cooking was crucial. Now, they're ready to head to the backcountry and begin development. After 60-plus trips over the Chilkoot and White Pass trails leading out of the Skagway-Dyea area, about 40,000 stampeders have successfully transported their ton of goods to Lake Lindeman and Lake Bennett.
Bennett represents the headwaters of the Yukon River and the beginning of the water portion of the stampeders' trip to Dawson.
Well, they estimate that about 100,000 people started out.
You know, people dropped everything to come here, and very few of them made it.
The rest of the 100,000 who set out on the trail had either returned home or settled in Skagway. About 3 months had passed from the time the stampeders left Seattle and San Francisco until they arrived at the lakes at the head of the Yukon River.
It would take you perhaps a week to get up to Skagway. And then it's going to take you about 3 months to move all of your equipment over the mountains to Bennett.
From there was another 500 or so, 550 miles down to Dawson on the Yukon River. It could take you 4 or 5 months to get to Dawson because you also had to wait for the Yukon River to unfreeze.
While waiting for the Yukon to thaw, it was time for the stampeders to build a boat to transport not only themselves, but their ton of provisions as well.
The Yukon River is actually a very shallow river and very fast current. We're talking about 7 knots an hour in the springtime especially.
And each of them had a year's supply of food, so they had to make fairly large boats.
This is one of the most popular of the designs of boats that left here. They packed everything in boats like this, everything from little tiny boats, almost canoe and kayak-like, to larger boats like this, might have a horse or 2 on it and a whole group of people and all their supplies, up to small steam-powered paddle wheelers that they pulled the components for over the mountain passes.
There were several steamboats that were brought over in bits and pieces, you know, with boilers and engines and a lot of wood.
So if you timed it right, you would be doing this boat building during the winter. In May, usually, is when the ice would go out of the river and you could launch that boat and begin your journey downstream.
When we come back, we'll look at a whole new set of challenges that greeted the stampeders upon their arrival to the headwaters of the Yukon.
Gold. It has lured adventurers and dreamers for centuries. Its glimmer speaks of fortunes and unexplored frontiers. Imagine if you could be part of this grand adventure. Imagine if you could seek out your own fortune. With the Gold Prospectors Association of America, you can. When you join our ranks, you become part of a community that shares your passion for prospecting. You gain access to resources, expert guides, and exclusive claims. Whether you're a seasoned prospector or just starting out, our association offers a wealth of knowledge and opportunities. We host exciting events, offer education and training, and provide tools to help you strike gold. But it's not just about the gold. It's about the thrill of the hunt, the joy of discovery, and the friendships forged along the way. So, are you ready to embark on your own gold prospecting adventure? Your journey starts here.
People that lived in a big tent here, when they finished with whatever they were eating that was canned at the time, they just toss it down here, and you can see there's a fairly big garbage dump. They used almost pure lead to seal the cans. People who lived on the canned food for any extended length of time could be poisoned by it.
Bennett has maybe the most visible remnants of the stampeders having been on the Chilkoot Trail. Bennett was at its peak, estimated somewhere in the area of 50,000 people.
People had been living a miserable existence in tents scattered all over these mountainsides, building boats so they could float to the gold fields.
Many of the stampeders had absolutely zero carpentry skills. Whipsawing planks of wood to ultimately build a floating craft was completely foreign to them.
I've never built a boat with my bare hands out of green logs. I had to saw myself. That sounds pretty amazing.
It depended on your knowledge and ability. Sometimes you hired people to build the boats for you because you just didn't have the knowledge, but you needed other people to help you.
Not everybody had the carpentry skills or was willing to whipsaw trees into planks to build a boat.
They stripped the hillsides a long way up of all the timber.
And then they would build a scaffolding type of saw pit, basically. It supported the tree, and there was one guy on the top and one guy at the bottom, and they had this big, huge saw. They sawed the trees into sections, into boards, and then they used those boards to build a boat. It took them several months to do that.
Whether standing above or below the log, the work was so difficult that each man believed he was doing all the work. This led to many arguments.
And so some people broke their partnerships during the boat building process and would depart.
Nobody was fully prepared for the numerous challenges that faced their journey to the Klondike.
A lot of people were not experienced. They didn't know what to expect, but the draw was just too strong. They couldn't say no. So they went up here not knowing what obstacles they were going to face, and that cost them dearly.
But everyone was convinced that there was gold to be had. For the stampeders that were left, nothing was going to stand between them and the promise of riches. Blake Harmon, along with a few others, have spent years sampling new areas to prospect on the Cripple River's property outside Nome, Alaska. In knowing there is an abundance of gold to be found at Crosis, a road must be constructed to provide easier access to this remote location. Crosis is a new camp that is currently in development along the Cripple River between the Arctic Creek Camp and the Ketchmark Camp. After finding a large amount of gold in the bedrock near this location a couple years prior, management at the Gold Prospectors Association decided to construct a new campsite, which will ultimately house 40 people.
I know personally that nobody's worked that area in the past 20 years because I've been up here on and off for 20 years. I've only missed 2 out of the last 20.
After breaking ground and building a chow hall, it was quickly learned that before any more construction could be completed, a gravel road must be laid down, making delivery of building materials more efficient.
The biggest project that we've got going on is the expansion of our Crosis camp. 2 years ago, we built a chow hall and got the basic infrastructure set up out there. And we've been working for the last 2 years on getting a gravel road out there so we can actually start to build hooches and accommodations for people to make that into a satellite camp.
That's exactly what it
No, the reason was he liked rocks. He liked rocks. He was going to bring me his rock collection. Yeah. That's our first date.
Bob and Sarah Alberts are the caretakers of Crosis, and for them, the road could not be completed soon enough.
Crosis is the newest camp within the Cripple River set of camps. It's one of the outer camps, and its design was primarily to provide a place for the outer camps to be able to pick up their supplies. It'd be nice to have trucks drive here to drop off supplies for all of the outer camps.
The plan by the end of this season is to actually have housing for 30 to 50 people. So that's going to be really exciting. It's going to give people an opportunity to do some prospecting on a stretch of property that really hasn't been explored a whole lot in the last 20 or 30 years and really hasn't been hard worked since the early 1900s.
Sarah and I are the only people working here right now, and it's going to probably change considerably.
The crew members of the large-scale operation at Cripple River have fired up their gold trommel, not only to find gold, but to gather smaller rocks which they will use to build the new road. The trommel camp is located a couple miles east of the Arctic Creek Camp. For years, the trommel operation has been processing material from this location and has been successful in its finds. Over these many years, the tailings from this operation have been used to expand a road branching out from the trommel camp.
If you're going to run 30, 40 people like they're talking about, You can't haul everything in there that they need on bikes. You ain't gonna keep up. So you gotta have a road to get there. We run 8 hours a day over there. Everything we make material-wise, big rock, small rock, that all comes out and built on these roads. So we've been working on this for over 2 years now.
After less than a day in operation and only 2 loads of rocks taken to work on the road, an all too familiar problem arises.
We lost the generator, so now we're building roads.
It is unknown when the new generator for the trauma will arrive, if ever.
I don't know. They're out of money here.
The people say you can make roads right now, but you can't. Not on Thunder. You have a problem with it sinking in. You can't dump anything. You got to know where to put it even.
They should have told us a couple of years ago that they were going to do this and wanted that all done. They kind of got the cart ahead of the horse.
The main camp has been waiting for weeks for their replacement, so the trommel crew must come up with an alternative for gathering road building materials.
We were just lucky we hit a nice spot over here with a lot of good rock.
The trommel crew gets lucky in finding a tremendous amount of rocks close to the road construction site. But they still have their work cut out for them, as hundreds of anxious miners await the opportunity to prospect the virgin ground.
But we're going to get that road done one way or the other. We're going to start running more hours.
Resembling much of Skagway in its early days, Lake Bennett was a booming tent city, offering all the amenities of an established town.
Bennett was a bustling gold rush town, like a lot of gold rush towns that happened through various gold rushes from San Francisco to Colorado. There was always that great hope that people had that they were starting something new and that it was going to be there a long time.
It was reported by a scout of the Northwest Mounted Police that 778 boats were being built at Lake Lindeman, 850 at Lake Bennett, and another 198 at Crosis.
Caribou Crossing, as it was formerly known, because of the large caribou herds that pass through this region.
Within 3 weeks after this report, another 1,200 boats were built. Like worked-up thoroughbreds at the gate of the Kentucky Derby, the Stampeders were anxiously awaiting the spring thaw so they could begin the race to the Klondike.
Some folks actually were pretty enterprising about it. They sledded their whole outfit as far down the river as they could, and once the ice broke, they just kept going.
An armada of nearly 7,000 ships quickly swept through the glassy waters, chasing their dreams for riches. Lake Bennett immediately became the lonely place it once was only a few short months prior.
And of course, afterwards, the city would become a ghost town. People would leave, they just came for whatever economic gold strike, and then they'd leave, and then the city would be left kind of like abandoned.
It lasted really only 3 years until the train was completed to Bennett in 1899, which basically made Bennett and the Chilkoot Trail obsolete.
Everything you see here that has grown back naturally reforested itself since 1898. This is just Mother Nature working to reclaim a site that was really worked over 100 years plus ago. By 1902, except for the old log church on the hillside and a few other buildings, Bennett was virtually gone.
The development of the road to Crosis is underway, but the search for new rich gold deposits is never ending.
One thing that we've been working on for about a year now is trying to get some more area on the beach for participants to be able to go out and prospect.
In working with the Sitnasak and Bering Strait Native corporations in Nome, Blake Harmon has negotiated a deal to open the west side of the Cripple River for participants to prospect.
So we're about 6 miles west of camp now. This area hasn't been worked a whole lot because it is under private ownership, and we're really excited to see what we can find out here during the summer. The reason that people are kind of chomping at the bit, there just hasn't been a whole lot of prospecting up there. So hopefully there's going to be some good deposits that they'll be able to collect the material and bring home a solid amount of gold. I don't think that's going anywhere. On the property itself, we've got a good half, 3/4 mile of beach, and there's some really good gold on it, but a lot of people like to go off the beaten path and go explore for their own opportunities.
After running a few sample pans, Blake is excited for this new rich opportunity for the future prospectors of the Cripple River mining camp.
I know there's good gold out here, and I know the participants are well trained when they come up to camp, so they should be able to find it. Yes.
Back at the main camp, the parts for the broken generator have finally arrived, and power is once again restored.
We were able to get it going in time for camp to get started, but those are the kind of unexpected things that happen up here that you have to be prepared for and be ready to deal with.
We had a backup, so it took us a couple weeks to get another one, and we finally got it wired in. We've been running it, and it's been running real well since.
We got lucky.
While repairs to the main camp are showing progress, the outer camps are still sitting with no communication to the outside world. Blake feels like this would be a perfect time to head to the highest peak near the Cripple River in an attempt to break radio silence.
When I go to take the repeater up the mountain, I usually try to get somebody that I can count on to be a trustworthy companion that knows a little bit about electronics and is willing to go with me no matter what the weather's like or what challenges we have up there, because it's definitely not something you want to do by yourself.
Blake gathers a couple crew members and they embark on the challenging journey ahead.
Ralph Yeager and Jack Swick came up with me, and they're both pretty much willing to do just about anything I ask them to, so they're pretty good suckers as far as that goes.
Still to come on Alaskan. The crew encounter a problem with the camp's most popular piece of prospecting equipment, while Blake Harmon is off the grid trying to solve the camp's communication problems. The stampeders may feel like it's smooth sailing from Lake Bennett to the goldfields as they unexpectedly approach the most dangerous leg of their journey. To continue learning about the struggles the stampeders faced, as well as exclusive content from today's Alaska Gold Expedition, visit AlaskanTheSeries.com.